Hello and welcome to the Alternative Investing Club show. This is the show where we help limited partners and commercial real estate investors, as well as investors in other types of alternative investing, find people that are experts in their areas. And we bring you interviews with people that know their particular investment subject matter thoroughly, and we learn and profit from their expertise. So today with us on the Alternative Investing Club show, I have with us Catherine Bell from the Titan Impact Group. Catherine, welcome to the show.
Daniel, I'm so happy to be here. And I love what you do, by the way. Your backstory of how you got started and why you do it, what you do is really, really inspiring. So I'm super happy to be here. Your reputation precedes you. I actually heard about you about 2 years ago.
Oh, okay, great. And I know your partner Matthew Owens. I found out about him, and we did an interview with him. I believe it was on January 23rd of 2023, last year, or almost 2 years ago.
Wow.
So yeah, it's a small world in the area
Right.
of alternative investing.
Yes.
All right. And I have to say that not all of it is the reason why I got into it too was not only to help other investors and to generally bring education out there into people in the US, because I think that a lot of this stuff is not taught. It really needs to be taught.
Yeah.
And frankly, I do it also so that I can learn. So I'm
Right.
on the journey with everybody else.
I love that. That's
Oh,
incredible.
all right. Tell us a little bit about yourself and Titan Impact Group. Uh, we'll have a short time, like 2 to 3 minutes.
So 2 to 3 minutes. Titan Impact Group was actually formed after being married for 18 years, and my husband died very tragically and unexpectedly. And
Sorry.
at that time, what had happened leading up to that was that I had been working 80 hours a week, burning the candle at both ends, taking care of my very sick husband, taking care of my twins, all of that. And had figured out that doing that wasn't going to work, so I had to create passive streams of income and multiple streams. The average millionaire has 7 streams of passive income, and so I was like, I got to figure this out. And so that's what I started doing. And so I did all the different investments from buy and hold to wholesaling, fix and flip, residential ground up, commercial ground up, mobile home parks, being the bank, notes, like all the things, just like you, like just learning out of necessity, right? Because again, I knew that passive streams of income was what was going to give me the breathing room for my family. So when my husband had died very tragically and unexpectedly, I actually created 13 streams of passive income for my family, and that allowed me I had 14-year-old twins at the time. It allowed me to take a year off and just grieve with them, figure out what we were going to do. And that's when I got really, really clear on what my purpose was, is that it's not about chasing money. It really is about making a difference. And so that's how my company was born. So Titan is being titans of industry, like being the sentinels of the American dream. Whatever your version of the American dream is, we need to protect that. Right? That's the beautiful thing about the country. I'm an immigrant, came here when I married my husband. So it really, really resonates with me. 2, impact is that everything we do must leave every person, property, and community better than we found them. That's what it comes down to for me. If we can't do that, I'm not interested. Then group is that just like what others did for me in being able to plug into deals to create those passive streams of income, that is exactly what my company now does for others. So it's the paying it forward model. So that's how my company Titan Impact Group was formed. And it's all about, if you can, we can do good and do well at the same time. And if you can add commas to your bank account, you must, because you never know when you're going to be called to make that difference. And so I have 2 nonprofits that all of this feeds into, inside of getting the children in the foster care system adopted, teaching women about investing and creating passive streams of income for their families. So it's just so much more than just about adding commas to bank accounts.
Oh my gosh, there's so much there to respond to, but I think I want to start off by saying multiple streams of income. And first of all, my sympathy and my empathy for your husband and how you tragically lost him. That I mean, running an investment club, I have heard so many stories of why people need to create passive income. And sometimes it's a lost loved one, sometimes it's change of career, sometimes it's, retirement or sending your kids through college. One thing that actually really impacted me that I learned about and kind of really hit home for me is I've been a software engineer for most of my career, about 25 years, and I'm 46 now. I was part of the Intel layoffs a year and a half ago, where my entire team was laid off. And what I realized is that software engineering is, frankly, a young person's game. The young people get hired because they're willing to work the hours and the cost less. A
Right.
46-year-old programmer is having, I initially started looking for other jobs. I had a much harder time of it than I thought I would.
Right.
And I was frankly shocked that I had so much experience and so much skill, and I was having such a rough time. And that underscored for me the importance of, being able to support my family with multiple streams of income.
Right.
Having a single job. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, so I just finished writing. I got 3 international best-selling author books, and we actually talk about this. We call it the 5 Ds, right? Death, divorce, downsized, diagnosis, or being dumped from your job, right?
Mm.
And there's so many more Ds, but those are the 5 main ones that we have come across that a lot of people will encounter somewhere in their lifetime. And if they don't have their financial house in order and there's multiple streams of passive income, to weather those storms, it makes those storms that much more painful,
Yeah.
right? Like what you're talking about. Like
Yeah, absolutely.
you didn't plan, your entire team was like, oh, you didn't plan for that, right? You didn't plan for somebody with your experience, your knowledge, your wisdom, for it to be that hard to like get it. Like what? Like it
You
doesn't.
hope that after 20 years in an industry, you've got some of that.
Right. Like none of it makes sense, which is why, again, it's that whole, we know our parents, get a good education, get a good job, you'll be taken care of forever. It doesn't exist. It's not there,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's every person's responsibility to create their own financial education and to be their best selves, not only financially, but health wise and in every aspect. Certainly, having finances that are solid and knowing how to make money is an important part of that, knowing how to invest. I mean, that's the whole reason why I founded this club, too, is to get that sort of education out because I
So
could go into a
I
long
want so I
talk
want
on that, but
so I
go
want to
ahead.
something that you just said, because I think that people need to understand there's 2 very different distinctions.
Mm,
There's 2 skill sets. So one skill set is our ability to make money, right? The second skill set is how do you keep the money? Those
mm,
are 2 completely different skill sets, right? So making the money is one thing, but keeping the money and growing the money, like you said, you do this because you're learning too.
mhm.
Like we all, and it's not like it's a talent or we're born with it. Like we can all learn it, but it is a critical skill that we're not taught in schools. We're not taught in college. So we must go out and get ourselves educated and like plug in with people like groups like yours, get mentors, whatever, so that we actually can create those multiple streams of income and really like master that skill of
Mhm.
keeping the money and now making that money grow. And like I always like to say, have it go out and bring back lots of friends.
Yeah, yeah. And one thing that a lot of people learn as they're starting the investor journey is that there's nobody who's on this journey who isn't still learning. No
Right.
matter if you've been in the industry for, all your life, you're still learning. And uh, investment is a learning process. It's not a destination.
Yep.
And it's one
Absolutely.
that's best done with other people that have other experiences.
Yes. Which is another thing we're not taught in school, because we're taught in school that if you like, talk to your friend, you're cheating. Where in
Yeah.
this, the more we come together and we collaborate, the better we actually do. The more isolated we are, the worse we are.
hmm I want to jump back to another thing you said, which is really important to me, and this is a life lesson that I learned. You said you never know when you need to add commas to your account because you never know when you're going to be called upon to, and I forget your exact words, to help, basically, is what the
Yeah, to
idea
make a
was,
difference. Yeah.
to make a difference.
Yeah.
Right. I've actually struggled with this because I know a lot of people within my circle of friends, at churches and communities, things like that, that are willing to give, but not to make money. So they find themselves in a position of constantly being, frankly, poor and still giving and never able to accumulate the wealth to really make a larger difference. Their
Yes.
heart is in the right place, but I think their investment mindset they need to have some investment education, because the way we can make the biggest impact is by growing our own resources and then turning that over to whatever cause or group you want to give that to.
Yep.
um, Being able to give is multiplied so much more when you have resources to give with.
Yeah.
um, and I think that's an important distinction. There's a debate between, should I invest or should I just give it away? And it's got to be both, because you
Well,
can't
and
grow
see,
your
okay,
resources if you don't.
I love this. I love that you brought this up. Okay, so this is a really important distinction for people to understand. And I taught this to my twins. So after my husband died, they were 14. When they were 15, I realized that I needed to teach them financial education and financial literacy. So they need communication skills, relationship skills, finance skills. The school wasn't going to do it. My husband was gone, so it was up to me. So, and they were at that very prickly teenage stage. I call it the Darth Vader stage, the the eye rolling, all that. So I was like, okay, this roof over your head, I paid for this. This is a dictatorship. This isn't a democracy. You will show up at my dining room table every second Friday with your homework done, and we're going to do this. So, of course, I'm like, bring your Darth Vader breathing, bring your eye rolling. I don't care. We're going to do this. So, for 2 years, I taught them financial literacy, communication skills, relationship skills. We played a lot of
Mm,
games. It was super fun. And it was all in like to teach them this. Your earned income is meant to buy assets that provide passive income. That passive income now pays for your lifestyle and pays for you to go make a difference. So, to your
it's
point, do I give the money away to charity, or do I take it and buy an asset that ongoingly continues to provide passive income such that I can continue to give that where I want to give it to? Rather than a one-time donation, now it becomes a lifelong donation if that's what you want. To me, like that was the biggest thing I needed to teach them.
Yeah,
So,
you got to think in processes, not just single events. You
right.
really you really have to. Yeah. And then the third thing I wanted to mention that you brought up was making an impact on other people's lives. And I think that's where we're going to get into your fund here, the OGC Debt Validation Fund number 2. It's always good to have a second, knowing the first succeeded.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about this fund and what impact it is making.
So I love this fund so much. So this is at the end of the day, I've done all the different types of investments and what I gleaned from all the different types of investments. And I actually go over this in one of my books is every investment, every business deal, partnership, anything you do, there's an actual completion process that you can go through to pull out the gold nuggets and to use those lessons as stepping stones rather than stumbling blocks. And so when I did that with every single one, what I came to is I love 2 things. My personality, me. I love to be the bank and I love to rent dirt. Those are my things. That's it. I don't like tenants and toilets. I don't like guests and toilets. I don't like all the things, but I love those 2 things. And so that's what this is this allows me to be the bank. And so what it is basically the consumer debt in the United States has reached over $1 trillion. It's not going anywhere anytime soon. And if we look at if we dig into why it's happening and how we can actually be a part of all of that, there's a reason that all the tallest buildings in all the major cities have banks on the top of the names, right? And we get to participate in that if you understand what the rules are. And I always say to my kids, look, you don't have to like the rules. You don't have to agree with the rules. Just figure out what the rules are, play and win, right? And so that's all
Mhm.
we did. We figured out the rules, we play and we win. So we go in and because there's something called the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, we are able to go in and invalidate this debt, meaning that the lenders, because they violated the consumer rights, they can no longer legally collect on that debt. So now what are they going to do? So we are able to acquire it for pennies on the dollar. Now that debt still needs to be paid, but what we do is this particular fund, it's a $50 million fund, and it will buy over $200 million of debt. Okay. And what it is, it's going to help over 33,000 families. And here's
Mm.
how we help those families. So let's set the investor piece to the side for just a second. Let's talk about who it's helping. So what we do is it's veterans and first responders in this particular fund. And most of them got into this credit card debt for a couple of reasons. Most of the times it was some medical emergency, and they got in over their head and they ran out of their emergency fund. And so they started using credit cards, and those credit cards got racked up. And now they're sitting at like a 30% interest rate, which they're literally drowning in. So a lot of them are like stuck in making $1,500 a month payments just for the minimum. They can't even get ahead. So what we do is we go in, we stop the 30%. Now it becomes a flat amount that they owe, right? Because that's what we bought. And we put them on what am I trying to say? Like a consistent pay schedule, but that payment goes right to the principal. There's no interest. Right? So by the time the 36 months is over, their debt is fully paid off. So that's one. Number two, because of that, their credit score has now been restored. And number three, bringing financial literacy so they understand how money actually works. Right? So by doing this, think about this, 33,000 families, all because some emergency happened. And some of this is still left over from COVID, because that $600 check didn't really do much for people. So having that, like, now it gives them literally breathing room, because money is like oxygen. The more you have, the easier it is to breathe. And so we're giving them the breathing room. We're bringing the education. We're bringing the solutions so they can actually do what they want to do, which is first responders at the core of who they are, is making a difference for our community. Right? So it's our way to give back to those people that like give themselves selflessly to all of our communities, but in a very real way that actually matters to them. So that's the impact piece of it. The investor piece is, we pay our investors 20% quarterly, consistently, again and again and again. Again, it's how the numbers work. So if anybody wants, we can dig more into that. But it's more about the impact on these 33,000 families that really, I think about that impact more than anything. Again, just because we need our first responders, we need their minds to be fully focused on what it is, the difference that they're making in our communities, not being distracted while they're on their job with, oh my God, how am I going to pay all my bills?
Yeah. Yeah. I think this is actually one of the major opportunities in 2025. And that is helping people get out of debt and doing it in a way that, frankly, gets them out from a drowning position back to where they can actually pay it off in a reasonable amount of time. 30% interest is usury. I mean, you can understand why major religions ban interest
Right.
around the world and
Right.
usury.
Yep.
Christians, Muslims, different groups at different times have all had, rules and regulations, and governments, of course, have these regulations as well, because they absolutely kick people while they're down
Yeah.
and prevent them from getting back on track.
Yep.
And so, I mean, not only medical bills, but student loan debts.
Right.
There's a huge need for relief there. There's a need for credit card debt relief. I was just reading a report today. It's all over the news wires that credit card debt said to hit record lives as consumers spend for the holidays. So
Yep.
we're again at a record level of credit card debt in the United States, and those bills, um, they come due, but with 30% interest, they become due again and again and again and again. And we really need a secondary market of companies who will come in and help consolidate that debt and help people get back onto their feet. And frankly, to have a spirit of helping your fellow person get out
Right.
of a terrible situation.
Yep.
Um, so not only do I think it is needed from a humanitarian point of view, I think it's one of the big opportunities for investment here in
Oh,
2025 as we're
huge.
seeing record levels of debt across all those areas.
Huge. It's one of my favorite things to do is literally be the bank while we're helping people, for sure. And
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like when people realize like there's multiple roles you can play in any investing transaction. You can be the buyer, the seller, the broker, there's so many roles you can play, but the most secure position in any transaction is being the bank.
Yeah.
So
So
just
you,
be the bank.
so you have a fund, the UCG Debt Validation Fund 2,
OCG. Yep.
uh, OCG, sorry,
That's okay.
OCG. Um, and it's because I lived in France and my vowels are sometimes
I
confused.
love it.
um, but this fund allows investors to come in and to place their investments. You don't have to talk specific numbers here, but can you? Oh, you can if you want. But give us a general idea from an investor standpoint what happens.
So, and I love going over these numbers because I want people to understand the power of this, right? So first of all, so the minimum investments, 50,000, you have to be an accredited investor, all that. Those are the typical, like, you need to know what you're doing, all of that. It's 20% paid out quarterly for 36 months. That's what it is. But here's why you want to understand the power of being the bank, right?
20% per year, right?
20% annually. Yep.
Yeah.
Per year.
Okay.
So I have people write down these numbers so you understand like how this is happening with the banks. So $50 million is going to buy $200 million of debt, right? So we're sitting at a 97% success rate in having these collected because these families are pretty excited that we have literally given them oxygen and relief from all of this. So that's why our success rate is so high. But let's just say worst case scenario, we're only able to collect 80%. 80% of that 200 million. So that's $160 million we collect, right? $50 million paid out 20% over 3 years turns into 50 million plus it ends up being $80 million we have to pay back to our investors, which we're super happy to. So we've just added some serious commas to our investors' bank accounts. So out of that 160, we've paid our investors back the $80 million. We still have 80 million to pay our legal team, our staff, the marketing, like all the things to be taken care of. Because people are like, how the heck do you pay out 20% consistently? This is how, because we're just being the bank. This is the power of being the bank. And when people understand that, all of a sudden it's like, what? This is why I love to be the bank.
Mm-hmm. So so from the person who's having their debt consolidated, you're coming and you're negotiating with their creditors to
Correct.
purchase it at a lower value, and then
Yeah.
you can take that value and put it towards both reducing their interest rate and giving an investor return. Am I
Correct.
accurately describing
Yep.
it?
Absolutely.
Okay,
Yep.
great. And it's currently available right now, right?
It is currently available. Yep.
How
For
long
anybody
will it be available of the
until
fund?
the full 50 million is raised.
Okay.
Once
Okay,
it's
great.
raised, it's closed, and that's that.
And
Yeah.
then and can you reiterate again, do you work only with veterans and first responders in this fund? Or
Um,
is it a general fund and then you have a benefit for them? How does that relationship work exactly?
so the debt invalidation process is primarily for veterans and first responders. However, our team is able to help other people as well. So if other people are interested in potentially their debt being invalidated, they can reach out. Anybody can learn about all aspects of this. You can go to catherinebell.ai and she'll have a full conversation with you about the whole thing
All
from both
right.
perspectives. So yeah, it's and I think that in the future we'll probably do one for like teachers and I mean there's just
Mhm.
endless amounts of groups that one are drowning in debt and two seriously need financial literacy, like no kidding. And
Yeah.
so we're starting here. This is where we're at is right now with veterans and first responders. My husband was a veteran. My son, 20 years old, he's a U.S. Marine serving over in Japan. I mean, so this really means this is very, very personal to me.
Yep. Yep. All
Yeah.
right, Catherine, I'm going to hit you with a question out of the blue here.
Okay.
What's a book recommendation you can give to the Alternative Investing Club?
So selfishly, I've got 3 books that just went international bestseller.
Okay, you can say your books, but you got to give me one other too.
Okay, good. Then here's my favorite that I give to everybody. Now, I love this because every this right here, what I'm about to tell you, every millionaire and billionaire that I know personally has done what I'm about to tell your audience to do. This is a game changer. This will change your life forever. So the homework, it's a really teeny tiny book, really little. You can read it in about 2 hours. The homework is that you read through the book once. Then for the next 90 days, every single day, you read chapters 4, 7, 11, and 14. So 4, 7, 11, and 14. It takes you 20 minutes. They're really teeny tiny chapters. But at the end, if you miss a day, you have to start all over again. But I promise you, you do this for 90 days, your life
Sounds
will
a little
never be,
75 hardish.
huh?
Sounds a little like 75 hard.
It's, I'm telling you, okay, success leaves clues. If every millionaire and billionaire has done this, come on. And they do
All
it
right.
again and again.
We're on pins and needles. What's the book?
Ready? The book?
Yep. The Science of Getting Rich.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
And it goes
I
back
have not
to
I've not even heard of it. So I
Yep.
will look it up and take your advice.
Like,
I was prepared here. I saw you had a book with a black binding, and I thought you were going to hold this book up.
oh, I love that.
So I reached over in my shelf and got it. But we've got different books there.
Yeah. Yeah, this is a game changer. I promise you. Your life will never be.
Who's the author?
Wallace D. Wattles.
Wallace D. Wattles. Okay.
So
great. And then go ahead and tell us your books too.
So my books are Wealth Wise Women Playbook, and that's to my nonprofit. And it's a group of women. We've all come together to tell our stories about how we literally came from nothing and built up some pretty extraordinary empires and are making a huge impact. The other one is Commas to Impact, and it's exactly that. It's the importance of, you must add, if you can add commas, you must, because you never know the impact you're going to be called. And then the other one is Complete Wealth. So it's Conquer Fear, Build Freedom, and Leave a Legacy. And that's that completion process I was telling you about. Because a lot of people, if you have deals that go sideways or businesses that go sideways or opportunities, a lot of people end up dwelling on that, and it becomes a stumbling block for them, and they don't actually move forward when they really need to. So it takes you through an actual completion process. So now you can glean the wisdom and do better in the future. One of my other favorite books, and where this was all inspired by, is Keith Cunningham wrote a book called The Road Less Stupid. And what he said was, we don't need to be making more better decisions. We need to be making, we need to be stopping and thinking through our actual decisions that we're making, right? Like, that's really, really important. So taking the time to think and, stop stumbling down the road less stupid.
Hey, did you know that I just ordered The Science of Getting Rich on Amazon for $2.95 new hardback?
Yeah. Yeah,
it's can't get too much better than that.
Right? Yeah.
All right, Catherine.
I can't wait.
Thank you so much for being on the Alternative Investing Club show. We love hearing from enthusiastic people like yourself who are helping others and making a difference with impact investing. Right? Not only are you investing well, but you're investing well to live and to give abundantly.
Right.
And so thank you for being here. Thank you very much. And we will talk to you soon.
Thank you. You're incredible. And thank you for what you're doing. More people need to lean in and learn from you and the group and everything that you're doing. So just thank you again. Your reputation precedes you. And truly, it was my honor to be here with you today. This is awesome.